player, but he's already up 1-0. Looking to go 2-0 to win the clan war for his team.
Okay, so yeah, ace match it is, Korean Air.
Very far location for the Overlord to go on this map. Probably has to drone scout if he wants to gain any information at all. And it looks like the Overlord is going towards the right side of the Terran base, so that's actually not going to be able to scout out too much. Very difficult to get that second Overlord on this map without it getting picked off. Really needs to travel a shit ton of distance. And it looks like Semper is just starting out with that early supply depot at the choke location of his ramp.
Yeah, I think
And
Semper is a player that favors the Reaper opener relative to CC first.
yeah, that looks like what he's going to be going into, unless he throws us all off and does a no gas expand.
Oh, there's the 12 gas, so indeed that is what we will see. And the drone
scout, yeah, very early drone scout, so he's going to be able to decide whether he wants to open gas or gasless way before that pool goes down.
Well, he is opening hatch first, that's for sure. No crazy shenanigans out of him. I want to see that hatch form. No, I don't get to see it. No.
Oh, tease.
Oh, yeah, that was mean.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
well,
what I did.
speaking of teasing,
Serious?
yeah, that was a bit rough. It was a bit rough for foreplay there.
Yeah, he wanted to lose the CV, obviously.
Lucky seems convinced that this game is over.
It looks like he's going to try to make his way into the main base with this Overlord, and it's going to be a very long trek for the Zerg player. Overlord definitely gets tired, only to be sacrificed into the main base of the Terran player by the time the Terran player has 15 Marines.
The Marines push out and there's just this Overlord collapsed on the map. It's not flying anymore. It's just this
I
pile
can't
of
go
goo.
any further!
Slipping its creep though. Yeah, where does the Overlord creep poo come from? Did they just turn air into creep?
Maybe it's just their gut. I mean, Overlords look pretty disgusting, so.
Well, they don't lose health for it or anything.
Alright, here comes the first Reaper. No bunker being placed down in a super early third base. Able to ninja his way past, but I don't generally like openings like this because it does delay your second queen. And unless the game goes really long, that second queen inject is... Oh, that was crazy. That second queen inject is actually very important. And it looks like he's going to be able to get out of there without losing any drones. Goodbye, coolman. Oh no, sacrificial flame.
You know, a second Reaper has been produced, so he can cause more havoc for these slowlings. And as you mentioned, with the one less queen, it'll also be more likely for him to pick up more drone kills here. And nice save there by the coolman. Now bringing down the lings to chase away, but they're reunited with the second Reaper. He can do more micro here at the natural to keep the Zerg busy.
Yeah, it looks like Semper is just going into a very standard play. He's getting that CC down, getting a third CC now. He's actually doing it right at the timing in which he can produce Hellions, so very, very standard right now.
Yep.
Only one gas though, so this is going to be Hellbat play. It's going to come extremely late, especially because when you open Reapers, you can get Hellbats out a lot sooner than a CC burst, so probably not going to see that. But he is going to be able to retain both his Reapers because there is no speed on the way. And that's going to allow him to build up to 6 Hellions and really, really make it hard for the Zerg player to deal with unless he opens Roaches.
Yeah, once the Zerg player tries to start spreading creep, it's easy for them to lose Hellions. Or, sorry, rather Queens, to get picked off by that Hellion pack once the 2 Reapers are added into it.
Yeah, it really adds that extra damage compared to just a CC first opening in which you cannot get Reapers and have to have nothing but Hellions. But as is, the Zerg player is just droning as much as he can. He's going to be able to catch this Queen out. Oh. And does lose a Reaper. And that's actually really big of a deal, especially because he's going to have a lot of Queens at this point, producing 5 of them in total off of 3 hatches. And a very comfortable drone lead, 33 to 26 with this many Queens is not too shabby, just because Queens actually cost pretty much a ton of minerals at this point.
Throwing down a bunker right now is Semper, just making sure he stays safe. And with Stim already on the way, I think the next thing on his production list will be a couple engineering bays, and we'll see him do that standard biomine style.
And it's really unfortunate that Semper lost that second Reaper. It really does add a lot of pressure into the queens. Probably would have had to pull this third queen out here onto the right side, but as is, he is going to be putting down defensive spore crawlers, sensing a little bit of a hellbat play, but Semper now just getting his second refinery and dropping down that 2 engineering base, so no hellbats today.
Just saving the queen there is the coolman. Now 4 queens at the front, bringing a third one with HP and transfusing the weakened sister queen. Spreading overlords around the outside of the map too, getting ready for a potential drop play. So both players looking stable as they transition into 3-base play.
So Zerg players opting to just go Lings this game is probably just going to be straight into Muta play. So this does kind of 2 things. There's advantages and disadvantages for both players. The advantage is Semper's army is actually significantly better if he does pay attention to his units. And the disadvantage is the economy of Coolman is going to be way better because he hasn't even deposited a single thing into gas, no double upgrades as well. So he's going to be able to pump a lot of Banelings or Mutas depending on what he wants to do.
Yeah, and the Coolman feeling comfortable that there's no Hellbat transition is staying on, as you mentioned, Pureling. Adding that Baneling nest though, still with no Road Foreign in sight, so a layer on the way, producing many drones. There's going to be a very strong capacity for an influx of units for the Coolman as Semper is getting this 3rd base saturated.
And Semper is actually only on 4 Marines right now, and he's adding 6 Raxes instead of 5 with the starport. So his production is going to be extremely good going into the mid game, and it looks like this is just going to be standard Muta play coming out from the Coolman.
Bunker's getting thrown down now for Semper. Always a safe player, covering any loose ends you might perceive him to have. The reactor, he's electing to produce Widow Mines, and with the Spire on the way, that's definitely the right decision.
Interesting choice by the Coolman. Doesn't have a macro hatch, went straight for the Spire, and his evolution chambers are extremely late. Normally, if you're just going to produce Lings, you don't have that gas deposit to pump into Roaches, so you can afford double upgrades a little bit quicker, but as his upgrades are going to be behind, and the only thing going for him right now is he has a really good economy, 64 drones, almost fully saturated on 3 bases. But he only has Lings right now, and he's probably going to be producing nothing but Mutas. So not really much of a threat here for Semper if he recognizes that Mutas will be out on the map. And with the lack of Baneling support and the lack of upgrades, it's going to be very difficult for him to break the army of Semper. It's really going to come down to how well he can disrupt the economy with the Mutalisks.
And those first little flock of Mutalisks are... Oh no, never mind. Those are Lings. Calm down. Spire's not even done yet.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And it only has 600 gas. Not that crazy.
Yeah, calm
down.
Calm down. Maybe it's some crazy Leenock double Spire shit.
Yeah. No, Leenock puts them at the same time. You gotta go all out, you know?
Oh yeah?
Can't have those upgrades not going at the same time.
Oh, that's annoying. That always pisses me off.
Yeah. Alright, so still 0-0 on these Lings. 2-2s being started for the Terran player. But he has absolutely no turrets, so I feel like the way that Semper has set up, it looks like he was expecting a Roach Baneling attack, or maybe just a flat-out Baneling attack, but even then, you want to be producing at least 2 tanks, so what this probably is going to be is his strategy to defend against Muta aggression at this time is just to be aggressive himself, forcing the Zerg player to actually fight with the Mutas. And that's exactly what he's going to be doing. 145 supply to 139. The supply is in favor of Terran, but in this matchup it's not too bad at this point. Terran players normally have a supply lead. And he's going to be able to clean up this creep. Not too many Banelings out on the map. That can easily be cleaned up by good Widowmine hits, and it's going to be a little bit of a scary moment for Coolman, who's losing a ton of his Mutas. That is really bad.
With the identification of these Mutas, Semper started drilling clauses. 2-2's already on the way, but the infestation pit is nearing completion for Coolman, so he was intending to transition out of Mutalisks regardless. However, he's able to get a nice Ling surround and detonations with his Banelings. Mines did do some decent work there, but they're cleaned up with the remaining Mutalisks and an Overseer.
The economy is fairly even in terms of the timing of that 4th base of the Zerg player, but Semper actually is getting his 4th base before he is max, so this game possibly can go late. notable just because Coolman lost those mutas. He's going to be fairly safe because he has a ton of lings and a lot of hatches. But he does have his infestation pit down, and he hasn't started hive or any infestation pit upgrades. So really interested to like, what is he actually trying to do at this point? Because if he's gearing up for another attack while going into hive, he has to be really careful to be cost efficient here, because the Terran player is at a point where he can actually max off of the Zerg army if he gets a good engagement. So
Yeah, and he's actually poking out once more. There are so many lings, but with a strong Widowmine count, it's all about the micro here. The few extra Mutalisks of the Coolman were added to before that hive went down, and they're on the left side just clearing up some Marines. And as Semper pushes in, you see the Coolman in great position here, morphing in some Banelings, is ready to attack this from multiple angles.
yeah, this is a very bad position for Semper. This attack is definitely going to be cleaned up. It's really going to come down to how cost efficiently he can be with these mines, but there's way too many units at this point, and half of them are on creep. Everything gets cleaned up, 153 supply to 144, and the Zerg player is transitioning into hive right now. This is a very dangerous position for Semper to be in.
Yeah, the Coolman senses weakness. He's actually thrown down 52 Zerglings as he begins to push into Semper's front. Just 2 bunkers here, and actually not full at this time. However, Semper's doing some good micro, cleaning up a lot of Mutalisks, but he's in a choke now. Few Banelings remaining, but they don't get the detonations that they need, and it looks like Semper is going to stabilize here.
Yeah, interesting choice to not get Pathogen Glands upgrades behind this or put down an Ultra Den. It looked like he was in pretty good shape going into this late game scenario with basically 2 very basic, easy cleanups from the Terran aggression, but he's going back into Ling Baneling. I think this is the first mistake the Coolman has made this game. His upgrades are late. It's going to make his Ultralisks a little bit less effective, and they're going to be slightly later than what he could have possibly done.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even realize that he didn't have 2-2 yet, and with the hive already done, he could be on even footing with the Terran player. He was making a lot of Banelings there, and they definitely worked out for him in terms of keeping the Terran pressure off, but floating down that 4th CC now is Semper. Did he lose it? Never mind. I don't know. I
No,
saw
it's still there.
Okay, yeah.
It's going to be a very difficult decision for the Coolman right now. He made a lot of units that they're not too useless, but they're definitely not what you want in the end game. So he's going to have to fight at least one time with nothing but Lings, Banelings, and Mutas before he transitions properly into that very strong Ultralisk army with support from the Medivacs. Sorry, from the Infestations, from the Infestors, and that's going to allow Semper to basically stay on this unit combination until he gets his 4th base down, because he doesn't have to worry about transitioning into Marauders until there is a ton of Ultralisks out on the field. And it looks like that's exactly what the Coolman's going to do. He's going to be going in. Nice Widowmine hits. That was actually a very small clump of Marines, so it worked out better for Semper. And unfortunately for him, the Coolman is actually clearing up supply for himself to go into Ultralisk, so he's going to be feeling pretty comfortable right now because he knows exactly where the entire Terran ball is.
Yeah, and pushing in now with a ton of Banelings. No P4 yet at this 4th base. Semper's on the retreat, does not want to get surrounded, and just manages to escape the grip of those Zerglings. However, the SCVs are remaining exposed, and huge Baneling hits to tour. Absolute destruction of the Terran army there.
66 Zerglings in production. Another one of those odd choices, a little bit of a panic move, securing his 5th base, but only 5 Ultralisks on the field with no Infestor support. And it looks like Semper knows the transition is coming. He's producing 2 Marauders at a time. That's going to be just enough to hit max right now.
Yeah, drop at the bottom
Right
center,
now.
forcing the whole army back from the Zerg player. That's cleaned up though. Nice static defense and eventual response time. However, I think that did some solid damage.
Yeah, good job by him to be putting down spores in every location despite him opening into mutas, just not taking any chances. And here comes a big engagement. Those are going to be some really good Widowmine hits, and he actually gets all the Widowmines. This is going to be very dangerous for Semper. He is ahead slightly in supply, but he has not enough Marauders for this army. And there are still a few Banelings in the back. This is going to be such a difficult micro position for the Terran player, but here comes his mines in an excellent position, and all the mutas are going to go down here. And the Ultralisks are completely naked. There are no Infestors to support these Ultralisks.
Yeah, and just 3 were produced. Remember, as you mentioned, that huge influx of Lings. Maybe not the right decision. Is he going to be punished here as these Marauders are pounding away at the hatchery?
Oh yeah, get it.
Just picks it
And
up.
that is actually huge, considering his minerals at the first base location is going to have to be transferred to his fourth. So essentially, he's only on 3 base right now, and the Terran player has secured with a planetary fortress his fourth base, and is actually landing another base as well, completely away from the Zerg army. And if the Zerg player attacks here, he's going to be in so much trouble. Here comes the Widow Mines hits. He's going to lose all of his tech units, and he's actually supply blocked as well. Only 3 Ultralisks here, and Semper has the exact same army he started off with, and this is going to be really difficult for the Zerg player to go in. Here comes the Widow Mine hit. All of the Banelings in the bottom right-hand corner of the map were killed off. Nothing but Ultralisks right now, completely naked with no Infestor support. 2 Mutalisks doing absolutely nothing, and now it's looking really good for Semper.
Yeah, some Ultralisks meeting up here though to reinforce those lone ones from the initial engagement. Semper's actually floating a CC down to that mid left. He's able to secure another base. It's going to be curtains for the Zerg player.
And not only that, his economy is doing extremely well, always floating enough minerals to use all of his Raxes, all of his production cycles, and taking continual bases on top of the Zerg player. Unlucky for him there, but he's not going to be losing that base, just lifting that off, and he's actually doing a drop in this base location right on top of the Zerg army. The Zerg player did not see that, and he's finally getting pathogen upgrades, and he's only at 163 supply with absolutely no bank. If he gets attacked right now, he's going to be very dangerous for the Zerg player.
The Raven transition absolutely stellar here from Semper. Starting off with that energy upgrade and now pumping 2 at a time. It's exactly what you want going up into the late game to supplement your bioforce with your huge gas bank. You see how much gas he has for this, and he's only been mining off of 5 the entire game. Once he's done with his upgrades, this is exactly what he needs to do. The drop is deterred here. Oh, just 1 HP on that medevac. 3.
It's a good drop defense, but actually Semper is using this as a decoy to hit the most important base of the Zerg player, and there's no creep up here on the top, which means if he has to engage Semper in this location, it's essentially going to be as difficult as attacking into one of Semper's bases, and he's just going to abandon that and go towards the right side of the left side of the map. But unfortunately for him, there's a P-Fort there, so nothing there is going to be cost efficient, and it is a max Terran ball right now against 189 supply. Excellent positioning here by Semper, able to get the most out of that planetary fortress, and he's gonna use all of his Banelings on this base.
Yeah, so just Ultras with very few lings remaining, and Semper's army is almost in position now. Like, there's no way for the Zerg player to push any further here. He is trying to get his own 5th base there on the bottom side of the map, extending towards the left. But as you mentioned, he's got to get his creep over there if he wants to remain efficient with these Ultralisk, Infestor, and Ling-based engagements in the late game.
Semper's playing a very smart strategy against this Zerg composition right now. He knows that the Zerg player cannot really be everywhere at once, especially because Infestors and Ultras are so slow. And he's always on top of his economy, forcing the Zerg player to be extremely cost inefficient just to sacrifice to kill 1 planetary fortress. And he has a bank right now with a full bioforce, a ton of Marauders. He has a total of 13 of them with 2 Ravens and 47 Marines. Everything in this game is fully upgraded right now. And it looks like he's heading towards the right side of the base just to clean up the Overlord. Maybe he's going there because maybe he thought that there was a Ling burrowed or something, but
this is sparking some army movement out of the Coolman. Getting busy in the center. He's brought a lot of queens up with these Ultras, so he does have a really nice maxed army here, but oh, the Widow Mine hits! Taking off so much of the initial Ling Baneling force, and that's kind of what you need to break into a big bio ball like this.
Ooh, and this is going to be a little cute. Going to be able to deny mining from this base, and this is such an important base. It's so hard to stress that the Zerg player is essentially on 2.5 bases right now. He's having such difficulty securing more bases, and this is really the ability for Semper to just deny them, because if the Zerg player had a 4,000 bank right now, his army is actually a little bit better fit to play against what Semper has, and it looks like Semper going into the 4th base location of his opponent, but there's nothing to be found there. And he's just going to back off. He doesn't really want to invest into the creep of the Zerg player right now.
Yeah, that's a good move just to burrow a Widow Mine there. That'll give him information, not only denying the base for extended period of time. These Ravens kind of have free reign right now.
Yeah, it looks like the Zerg player is trying to transition into every tech possible. It doesn't really have upgrades to go into Broodlords, but nice fungals, and ooh, that's going to be really bad. The medevacs are not healing any of those units, but here come the Ravens, massing out those super missiles, and you can get off the Infestors.
Oh my.
Those are nice hits indeed. The supply 176 to 177, nothing has been engaged so far. The Zerg player was able to get a nice bank, but he's gonna have a lot of trouble pushing into that, and he's going into Corruptors.
Yeah, that was a good job in throwing the infested Terrans into buffer Widow Mines too. Nice little tactic. These players are showing some refined and experienced play here in the late game.
Oh,
Seeker
this is gonna
missiles
be
on
sick.
drones? Oh my.
Boom!
It's a little risky.
Definitely not efficient at all.
Yeah.
3 drone kills just for that.
He did make that army move back again though.
The Zerg player can actually transition into Broodlords now. He has the economy to do it, despite losing so many bases. So he's doing a very good job keeping up with Semper, despite being dropped all over the place. And Semper is maxed once again, and it looks like this is the timing he wants to hit. He's building 3 Banshees. This is so smart, but he's gonna have to hit before those Broodlords morph. Even 3 of them can be such a nuisance for the Terran force with anything that's mine or tank heavy, and oh my god, that's a lot of queens here.
Yeah, that is a strong queen force. And not even losing a single queen in this engagement, deterring 2. 3-3 with Marauder Marine drops. Very nice.
The Zerg player basically has almost a complete death ball, I'd say, at this point. And Semper has not transitioned into something extreme. So if these Widow Mines don't get great hits, Semper is going to be in a lot of trouble.
Semper's actually not mining any extra gas himself, so he's producing 5 Vikings right now, and he does have pretty good Raven retention. But you see a lot of players go even more air heavy and almost forfeit Marine production, essentially. Just have a shit ton of Marauders, but he seems content with the more spread out unit composition. Right now
Yeah, definitely the style of play here is to go into that weird army, even mass battle cruisers, but like you said, he's content with staying with this really low-tech army, and normally players at the pro level end up just going for crazy base trades at this point, because it is very difficult to push into the Zerg player. But look at this, he's actually deterring the detention of the mass Ultralist force, and he's going to be able to go in here. Wow, what a turn of pace here. Semper just somehow made the Zerg player decide to go save his base with ground forces against 3 cloaked Banshees.
Yeah, that was awkward sending the Ultralists back there. He cleaned up a lot of infestors and essentially all of the air units that the Zerg player has. And with the Banshee retention, he's even got 1 at home, pecking away at these Ultralisks. Vikings in here to make the Overseers get out here.
Is he not? I mean, he basically lost the majority of his forces, and he's still being aggressive with his Ultralisks. If he loses this force,
he lost his base, right? Not only did he force the cool man to send a bunch of units there, he couldn't even kill what he sent back. So, or with what he sent back, he could not kill. Transferring drones into the Widow Mine in the mid right, and these 3 Banshees are just gonna snipe hatches all day.
I cannot believe the effect that those 3 cloaked Banshees had on this game. They basically allowed Semper to clean up nothing but an air force of Broodlords, Infestors, and Corruptors, because the mass Ultralist army that could have surely cleaned up Semper's army went all the way down to the bottom left-hand corner of the map. And they denied 2 mining bases, and now the Zerg player is not mining anything. This is the last mineral patch he has. He finally clears up that mine to build another base in the top right-hand corner, but it is instantly scanned, and Semper is in full control of this game.
Pushing in now for what seems like the kill, essentially. I'm not sure if he's required to do this, though, because as you mentioned, there is no established hatchery for the Zerg player. Only that one on the mid-right is what is currently being constructed. And noting that the Terran army is way overcommitted in the creep, these Ultras move to the top to try and get some damage done. The Cool Man's trying to squeak his way back into this. He's got some Broodlords morphing defensively, but if the Marines catch this, the Infestors do not hit critical fungals, then they could go down.
Once again, those Ultralists were not with the Broodlords, and here comes the final engagement. It looks like absolutely no bank here for the Zerg player. He needs to clean this up super cost efficiently, but there are so many Marauders. There's only 4 Broodlords left, and the Infestors are not really being Michaeled that well. The trade-off is basically even at this point, and the more even the trade-off, the better it's going to be for Semper. Just 1 Ultralist now on the field, and Semper should be able to remax here. A little bit silly that he has 3,400. There we go. There's the Marine production.
Yeah, and he's adding Vikings still. More mines. Tons of CCs as well. It's going to take forever for the Zerg to go around and kill bases, so I mean, even if he loses these ones in the top right, he should still have the economy from the newly established mid left and top center. to remax here.
The Zerg player is literally on one base. He has 51 workers mining off of this one mineral patch. And that is literally the last stand of the Zerg player, and it looks like Semper feels like he can go for the kill right now. A full scan, he sees everything. There's only one Ultralisk, which means that's the only threat on the ground.
Did he see those burrowed infestors though? Here they unburrow and sick fungals. Just that one Ultra though, as you mentioned, but it seems like it's enough for these Lings to do a huge dent here. No medevacs with Semper's army there, so looking a little rough for him indeed.
And it looks like Semper's realizing that he really needs gas and has gotten all the gases at all his bases, but he's not mining completely out of all of them, so it's going to take him a while to get up to that nice Viking count that he really wants. All he needs to do is get rid of those Broodlords, and everything else on the Bio Force can pretty much take out what the Zerg has. And despite Coolman playing so well at this point, I think this game is drawing to a close. There's really nothing you can do at this point. Semper's macro is just completely obliterating his opponent because he has so many bases, and here comes another attempt at a good fungal, but he actually just opts to burrow and he loses all his infestors.
Yeah, that was rough. I think that might be the nail in the coffin here, is if you look at his gas income, this is for the Zerg player rather, that number's not going up at all. He's just established extractor, so he's pretty much going to be 4 Broodlords here, those Corruptors, and then reinforced with Pure Ling, as we see 30 in production, and Hellbats have been added by Semper. Oh my. This is going to be quite devastating as he pushes across once more.
At this point, anything Semper produces that does damage is going to be the correct thing to build. He has a nice mix of Hellbats, Bio, and a ton of Vikings, and he's even trying to deny bases that don't even have mineral patches on them. And it looks like this is going to be the final push. The air upgrades are not that great, they're only 1-1, so those Broodlords don't even stand a single chance. He snipes all of them except the last one, finally gets taken down, and nothing but Corruptors now against the mass Bioforce, and unfortunately for him, he built 6 Hellbats, so those Lings are going to be doing nothing to this Bioforce.
Yeah, they're going for a run by, but I think once he realizes how many bases that Semper's mining off of, the Coolman will GG out of this game. Absolutely intense though. I'm sure he's kicking himself about the force allocation when those Banshees were harassing his bottom left base. Running into the P-port though, and that tells him all he needs to know.
That was a very good game to be the ace match.
Yeah.
Pretty much shows the skill level of both these teams, especially Semper and the Coolman, and a lot of back and forth action there. Both players just going for that late game, no one really going for anything cheesy, and both players showcasing that they can play the late game extremely well. Unfortunately, Semper with a little bit of a mind trick there, and really well played.